So we have finally Ronan and Asia from eToro. So Ronan's going to be talking to us about how at eToro they define the vision, team processes and steps from research to launch. So for the past 20 years, Ronan has been merging technology and design together into useful and accessible products, and he's now co-founder and CPO of eToro. Please put your hands together for Ronan.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? All right, perfect. Very happy to be here. This is me. So I'm co-founder running product and engineering for eToro.com, the world's leading social investment network. I'm always happy to come to these UX conferences, and I always tell the story that we founded the company 11 years ago. I actually come from a UX background for the past 20-something years, managing to combine technology and design together. I did my bachelor's in product design, my master's in product design as well. And 11 years ago, when we set up the company, we went pitching for VCs. And if everyone here ever pitched to VCs, you know they can sometimes be kind of harsh on you. And we had this nice, glossy business cards, and mine said, Ronan, interaction designer. And the first VC we pitched to looked at the business card. He said, we have no founders who are interaction designers. I don't know what the hell you're doing. And please explain what it is that you're doing. And I started talking about what it is considered today to be UX. And he said, OK, you're the product manager. Please change it to product management. And then a couple of meetings afterwards, another VC, I came to the meeting, and I have a brand new glossy business cards. It says, Ronan, product manager. He says, you cannot be a co-founder and product manager. You're the VP of products for the company. And so I found myself managing product for the company. Way before UX was even born, it used to be interaction design, human-machine engineering, Web 2.0, and all of these fancy words. And here we are. So this is my talk. I'll go for some principles. How many entrepreneurs in the audience? Wow, not a lot. How many wannabe entrepreneurs in the audience? So this is about some of the stages that we went through and some of my key takeaways over the years. And I'll start with a very kind of basic thing, which is to find a big vision. I come from Israel. Israel has a very strong engineering kind of culture that's driving all of these startups that come out of Israel. And the typical scenario I would see, people would come up to me and say, hey, I have this great idea for a new product, feature, platform. But there's never any marketing or real product kind of thought behind it. There's always like the technical aspects of the feature or the very specific application they want to put out there. And I always say, you know, if there are no solutions in the market, sometimes it means there's no need. And building a brand is something that's, you know, very difficult to put a retail brand out there. And you have to make sure you know who you're aiming for. And for us, it's been really a magnificent journey. And our vision, this is like from the presentation of day one, 11 years ago, is to open the global markets for everyone to trade and invest in a simple and transparent way. And that really helped us along the way to be able to pivot and tweak the product because the vision was always so big. And we started out, we launched our first product in 2008. It was a downloadable desktop platform built in C++, if you can recall these days. And it was all about accessible visual trading platform for novice users. And then in 2009, web platforms started coming out, and we wanted to build our own web platform. It was Flash-based. And my then CTO co-founder said to me, look, we have all these users from all around the world. They don't really interact. Let's put like a public chat room out there, which we did in about 6 weeks. We developed a public chat room, and suddenly it became like the most interactive part of the platform. Everybody was online chatting. What are you buying? What are you selling? What's up? What's down? What do you think will happen with Apple shares? What's going to happen with a financial crisis, etc.? And then we realized that these interactions were the basic building blocks for the entire product. And then in 2011, we kind of fused everything together. We started from scratch, and we launched the proper kind of what is today our social network. And it's been easy to do that because the vision could hold all of these changes along the way. So it's important not to stick with a very specific set of like features or products and have a big enough vision. This is another kind of key takeaway which seems trivial, but not always the case. Meet the user. This is our typical user. Interested in finance, 34 years old. Usually most people who interact with financial markets, at least in the western part of the world, traditionally more male, about 80% male, 20% female. Very tech-savvy and socially connected because you're sharing your entire trading activity online, so you have to be familiar with the notion of to be able to share everything online. But of course, averages aren't enough, and this is a typical problem I see time and time again. You've got your audience changing over time. Maybe the product has changed, maybe the product has grown, maybe the market changed, but people don't actually realize that sometimes the target market changes as well. And I see sometimes founder going with, this is our product market fit, these are our users, and I say, when did you last check that these are actually your users? And they say, oh, we did this research 2 years ago. So I said, go run it again, and suddenly everybody's 10 years older or younger or richer or poorer or from different geographies. So it's very, very important to really understand who are your users and constantly validate that. Why are we all here today about delivering products? So this is where I get a little bit more technical for you guys. This is around 8 years ago. Everything was, heavy desktop applications. And every sausage wanted its own application, right? Everybody, your local off-license guy said, I have to build my own mobile app, otherwise I'm not there. And all of us got suddenly lots of jobs because we were building mobile applications for everyone. But then the whole process was completely cumbersome, and your computer would crash on you 10 times a day because just Photoshop and the tools back then couldn't handle the load. You would have these gigantic files, gigabytes over gigabytes, of layers stacked one upon another, and it was just the whole process was really hard to manage. And delivering to dev was exactly not like that. So I see lots of guys here having these fancy product whiteboards and stickers, and that's really good. But when you have to deliver to engineering, our engineering team is almost 200 people. You have to be a bit more specific than just whiteboards and strings. And so you get sitting with engineers going like that. So I say, analog is great, but it's not only about being analog, and make sure you have the right tools to deliver. And we use Sketch. How many people here use Sketch? Fantastic. How many don't use Sketch? Start using Sketch. I'm not invested in Sketch in any way, just a great product. But really what Sketch did, it really, the productivity of the team has just increased in an order of magnitude. And we use Sketch and Zeppelin and Principle all together. That's like the trinity of product and engineering. And that really made our life easier because we can do lots of prototypes in really fast interactions. We can really change the entire UI system. And unlike the days of like the old huge files of Photoshop, everything is very neatly connected. Everything is importable, exportable to other applications. And we can really manage these and tweak these applications to engineering in really fast cycles. This is, by the way, it seems trivial to anybody who's doing native apps, but this is for a web app. So, if I'm sitting with an engineer trying to do that on paper, that's difficult. If I give him the actual animation already done, that makes his life easier. And we invest a lot of time and effort in building our own UI design systems, all the way from grids to colors to breakpoints. Of course, it's a cross-platform system, so there are lots of moving parts, different screen sizes, etc. So just an example of some icons, the small ones, the bigger ones, and the more advanced components, the basic components, and how do you fuse all of these together to create. This is, by the way, an example from a new application we're launching, which is a cryptocurrency wallet, which is going to probably be launched within the next 2 weeks. So really excited about that as well. And I just gave here this example. This is the entire onboarding process, and you can see all of the buttons here are blue. And somebody decided to change them to orange. He felt orange was maybe a better color to interact with the application. And in the old days, once everything was already delivered to engineering, changing only that from blue to orange could have taken weeks. And today, using that system of Sketch and Zeppelin, that takes, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 minutes. So suddenly you feel like you've got these superpowers, and voila, everything is orange within a click of a button. Everything is connected, everything is fused together very elegantly. And the reason that's important is because if your job is very hard at maintaining the stuff you do all day and you end up just suffering for the maintenance, you'll end up just in a big despair. So we always like to say we love maintenance and we maintenance the love. So at number 3, funnel is king. This is kind of trivial, but I find that it's not that trivial. You've got your vision, you've got the target market, now you went through building the actual product. And is there an onboarding funnel? No, because the onboarding funnel is always the problem of the marketing department. That's never the job of the product managers because nobody thought about the marketing funnel, right? So funnel is a key aspect of your product, and the naive kind of, okay, this is about a little bit about how we look at our market, but there's like, we serve customers from dozens of different countries, lots of different messages out there. Everything gets into this big marketing machine. And this is the naive way of looking at a funnel. If I would ask anybody how our funnel would look like for a typical kind of opening an account, funding an account, they would say, there's an ad, there's a homepage, there's a sign-up process, you deposit money, and you start investing in the markets, right? And this, up until a couple of years ago, that would be like the main pillars of the funnel. You'll have your drop-off stages. You would sit in these angry management sessions where why is the conversion not high enough because of this stage or that stage, and everybody would just be looking at these 4, 5, 3, 6 different stages. But in effect, and this is the slide, I ripped off 9 Clouds, so I give them the credit. This is a great research they did over the decision-making process of buying a car. And they found out there are 24 different touch points in a funnel of your decision-making. All of this is part of the funnel, right? Now, most of the people I would talk to, typically, if you'll go outside to Google to search for reviews, that's not considered part of the funnel. It is a critical part of everything here is part of the funnel. And 19 of these touch points are digital, and some are offline, and everything matters. So stuff like SEO and App Store optimization and your reviews on site and the comparison stuff and the ads you have out there, everything is part of the funnel. And you won't really be able to make an impact on the funnel unless you really understand the whole picture. And every step has its own mechanic, right? Lots of relevant abbreviations. I don't know how many people here do marketing? Oh, just a few. So you know all of the buzzwords, right? Like CPM, CPC, CPL, etc. So each part of the funnel has its own mechanics, its own kind of jargon, its own kind of secret sauce that have to be applied. Some are more content-oriented, and if you can't control the whole funnel, you'll be spending lots of money for nothing. Everything has to be monitored, and some tweaks are just about, the creative aspects. You change the messaging, you change the colors, you change the layout, which is fine. And some tweaks are very kind of engineer-oriented, making everything faster, making everything smoother. And it's always work in progress, and the funnel is never done. So if you look at every big company, they have quite a big team doing either what's called growth or whatever it is within the product department. They just take care of the funnel, and it's always an ongoing task. I love to give this example because I'm assuming there are no Israelis in the crowd, but in Israel there are 3 big commercial TV channels, and a couple of years ago the government decided to put a tender out for the actual channel numbering on the set-top boxes. And what's interesting about the Israeli TV scene is that there is only one news channel. So when news is on at 8 p.m., there's just one broadcasting company. It's the same show for all 3 channels. and they put a tender out, and the highest bidder put 25 million, the lowest bidder put a 0. They got the lowest channel in the set-top box because they realized people are always channeling up, they never channel down. And when the same program is on, they enjoy a 20% more rating than the other channels, just because the default behavior in set-top boxes is you put the channel on and you always channel up. You never channel down. And that's something that only these guys realized, and they were willing to pay the hefty sum for it. And this is something, default is key, and you always have to optimize. So, if I would have an elderly customer from the UK, he would get a different... It is an elderly customer from the UK, isn't it? You would get a different set of stuff you would see on the application. So you would see the FTSE, and you'd see the London Stock Exchange stock, and Barclays, and how the pound is doing, and how BP is doing. If you're a young guy from the UK, you might see Snapchat on, because that has more relevant to what you're looking to invest in. Another good point to discuss is the segmentation versus personalization issue. Again, when I started out 11 years ago with the company, it was only about segmentation. Everybody was trying to shove everything into very specific pigeonholes. And that, in a sense, that had to do with the fact that IT systems couldn't handle really what's called today like micro-segmentations or personalization. So the IT problem kind of created the analysis problem. And product guys will have a way to segment the clients. The sales will have a way to segment the clients. Everybody will have its own way, but it's very difficult to create a holistic user experience that's tailored for the end user if they're just shoved into pigeonholes. So this is like, by the way, this is Guinness World Book of Records for the biggest amount of people shoved into a Volkswagen Transporter. 51 people. That's quite an achievement, I say, a couple of years ago. And that's how I look at segmentation, right? You're trying to shove all of your clients into one box, and then you can't really create a good user experience because an individual is an individual. And personalization is all about meeting the customer needs more effectively, efficiently, making interactions faster and easier, and consequently increasing customer satisfaction and likelihood of repeat visits. A very long sentence, but everybody understands the core measures here. Number 4 is about creating awareness. So again, we had the vision, we know who the users are, we got the product, we got the funnel right. Now what? You have to push the messaging out there and create awareness, because nobody knows who the hell you are. And I always call it, lots of people call it kind of acquisition versus this. I always call it creating versus servicing demand, or the Ari Gold versus the turtle model. How many people watched Entourage here? Not enough. Go watch Entourage. So Ari Gold is like the typical hard sell guy, right? He's always on the phone, pushing the message out there, getting Vince to do all of the movies, take where the biggest money is, and just shouting at everybody consistently the same message, go out there, put yourself out there. While as Turtle, he's like, look at the more artistic side, the soft sell, building the brand, making sure you get the right decisions out there, the right messaging out there. And typical companies would say that's a 60-40. So if you look at the Coca-Cola, for example, they'd be spending much more money on creating awareness rather than servicing. If you're an online brand or an online application, you would typically spend more money on acquisition rather than creating brand. First of all, brand marketing is really expensive. If you're just set up the company, you won't have enough money to put like huge billboards and TV ads. And the online channel tend to be more servicing oriented because you can really measure everything. So this is roughly about our approach to that issue. It's, we're creating the awareness, we prioritize the reach, we try to pick as many channels as possible, so we're not just captivated into one or locked into one channel. We do pulse activities. Pulse activity can be anywhere from, radio campaigns, TV campaigns, and then you try to balance all of the formats together so there's like a really coherent kind of display all across. And this is also a big, important part of the acquisition is when do you target your audience? So if our audience, as I've said a couple of slides back, 34-year-old guy, he's more likely to sign up during the evening when he's not at work and he has a bit of downtime. So, and because we're an online trading platform and the markets don't work over the weekend, it's less relevant over the weekends. So we have to choose our channels more carefully and our spend more carefully. And the segments can get really, really, really fine. So this is, again, up until a couple of years ago, you would want to target something, you'd go to an online ad agency, and they would say, okay, male, female, age group, that's it. Today you can really, really target, all the way from cycling enthusiasts, business management, digital marketeers, rugby fans, Manchester professionals, political Britain, all kinds of different interests and hobbies, and really be able to target them more precisely with your ads. And this is why when you come to you put ads in the paper, if you don't know exactly what are the channels, who's your target audience, you might pick the wrong format to publish in. And once you got all of that settled, you have to be really consistent with the messaging. So 2017 for us was the big crypto year. We've been fortunate enough to be part of this revolution early as 2012. We've had Bitcoin on the platform as early as 2013. And then when this whole craze came along early in 2017, we were already considered like a platform where you can easily buy cryptocurrencies. And of course, we look at that as part of a holistic investment portfolio. And then we put the message of, crypto needn't be cryptic all over the UK. You would see that in tube examples. This is from Waterloo Station, taxis in London, and I think we even did the overground train here in Dublin. And last but not least, it's important to measure everything. So this is not specifically for me because I see everyone here in each and every presentation talked about measuring, but it is really important to measure everything. And if I reflect back to what it is being a good UX guy, it's not only about measuring the product. You could have the most amazing product, it works beautifully, but if your customer service sucks, the UX isn't going to be good, right? So it's not just about being able to deliver product engineering, very neatly crafted piece of software. Everything has to be SLA, everything has to be measured, and everything has to be monitored, right? So we monitor tickets and customer support, phone calls, login speeds, sign-up stages, conversion, market updates, trading execution speeds, and I can go on and on for like a gazillion different of these kind of things we measure, and everything has to do with the different business owner, different systems, but everything is SLA. And that's it. Thank you very much. Three minutes for questions.
Yeah, we have time
just
for some
before
questions.
lunch.
Everyone stay seated, please.
There's beef, there's chicken.
And are there any burning questions amongst you guys? Hands up if there are. Guy in the purple.
The prototyping tool?
Prince.
Sketch. Sorry? Yeah. So I'm just before everybody leaves, I want to do this. Perfect. A selfie with the audience. I'm Eric Clapton now.
Any other questions in the audience?
Questions? All right.
Yeah? We'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Guys, we're back.